All right, coming to you from 4,200 feet in the hills of Oregon. We are here in the Wilson Custom Knife Shop talking about hollow-handled knives. Folks, I just did, I think, 2 videos on this in the last couple of weeks, but I got a couple of emails that just came in after the other video was put out, and I thought I'd save them up and try and hit this one more time. And then I'm probably going to leave it alone because I've done this so many times over the years that, the way I look at it is this: the results speak for themselves. I've been making knives for a good bit now, and my knives have an excellent reputation. I've got knives on several continents around the world. Not that that means I can't make mistakes or I'm infallible, but I've got a lot of people that have reviewed my knives independently and here in the shop and then the field. We've never had any problems, and there's video to back all that up. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. We have a listener, and if you haven't, by the way, if you don't catch the MOA broadcast, you can find it right here on the YouTube channel for Gear Convoy. You can go to gearconvoy.com where you can find all the episodes and all kind of stuff. It's a great radio show and podcast about current events, preparedness, survival, knives, outdoor gear, all kind of stuff. So anyway, we put out a couple of episodes a week usually, and you might find that enjoyable. But we have emails from both customers and listeners and so forth. We're going to kind of jump right in, and we're going to try and keep this to 5 to 7 minutes. I got a timer going. We'll see if I can hit that or not. Okay, first up. Hello, I've always been a fan of hollow-handled knives, and I have one of your mid-tech production models. Excellent choice. Available at gearconvoy.com. I have hollow-handled knives from other makers, and some have longer tangs, and some are comparable to yours. I was just curious what your reasoning is for the tang length. I do use the knife and haven't had any concerns or issues, but thought I would ask. Just curious what your thoughts are. I enjoy the knife and have been pleased with it. Thank you, Wesley. And yes, Wesley did give me permission to use his name. So let's get to that. What is the deal? Guys, the tang length is not your primary issue. We gotta get on the same page on this. And if you don't want to believe it, that's fine too. That's entirely up to you. You do whatever you want to do. There's a whole bunch of stuff, knives and everything to choose from on the market today. Get whatever you want. Historically, most tangs on hollow-handled knives have been around an inch or so. As long as they're a full-width, full-thickness tang, that is no problem because guys, we got to look at the physics of it all, okay? This is an SS1. This is one of my mid-tech production models, okay? The tang goes about an inch or so in there. Look at where the stress is going to be in a bend test, or if you're hammering on it, batoning, and I'll either link in or put in some footage of me batoning these things mercilessly. The tang is not the problem. The design of the knife and the tang and the joint and everything all together is where you get your strength, okay? So a longer tang means nothing once you get past about that joint right there where here, I've got one without cord wrap on there, where the handle and the guard meet up. When you flex this thing, when you bend on it, whenever you beat on it, all of that stress is going to be focused either right in front of the guard or right behind the guard. The tang going deeper and deeper and deeper into the handle, it means next to nothing. Physics. It's surrounded and encased by either steel and or aluminum, okay? That tang can't break inside of there. All you're really doing is creating a longer lever by which to break your own blade. Do you see? If you go to an image search on the internet and you look up broken full tang knives, do you know where you're most often going to see the tang broken? In most cases, you're going to see it broken in front of the handles or right behind the front bolster area because those aren't secured as well, actually, as a hollow handle knife. I'm not trying to say it's stronger or better than a full tang knife. That's a totally different discussion and whatever. That's not the point of this. The point is, how do you decide what length to make it? You want to make it the minimum length necessary to give it the proper strength and no more. Otherwise, you're just wasting valuable real estate inside of your hollow handle, okay? We don't want to overthink this. If we look at the junk knives from the 80s and stuff, they had these tiny miniature rat tail tangs and all the stress was focused where it rapidly came down to a very reduced stock thickness and everything else. Horrible designs. That's why they broke there, all right? I'm not saying you can't break one of these knives, one of mine. You can break anything that you set out to break. But again, I'll put in footage or I'll link in below in the description of me mercilessly beating these things with axe handles and 2x4s, and they don't break there. That's not the problem. Okay, the tang is actually reinforced by aluminum and or steel inside this handle. The other thing is this, is there's a two-part joint. Okay, there's a mechanical joint, and then there is the epoxy. You don't want to just rely on one or the other. If you just have a mechanical joint, sooner or later, ostensibly, it could potentially come undone, however you had the joint made. If you just have epoxy, if the epoxy ever fails, and epoxies most certainly do fail, anything can fail, okay? I actually keep a record, no joke, I can prove it if necessary. I keep a record of every batch of epoxy I mix up from knives, okay? In the last, 6 years, I've had one batch fail. Okay, and fortunately they were all labeled, so it was only one knife anyway, but I was able to catch it and redo the knife. Now, interestingly enough, that epoxy wound up getting hard enough after about 2 years anyway, or whatever it was, 1 year, whatever. But epoxies most certainly do fail. And these epoxies I use are commercial epoxies. Doesn't mean you can't get good epoxies at, online or wherever. These are all commercial grade epoxies that can withstand high heat, and they're also rapid setting and so forth for production. But the bottom line is, if you just rely on epoxy, think about the nature of a survival knife. What if you're in a crash landing and your knife gets heated up to high temperatures? That epoxy will go back into what's called liquidus, and you're going to have a serious problem. So you don't ever want to rely just on one or the other. Think about it like this. If you remove either one joint or the other, would the knife still hold up? If you remove the epoxy, is it still going to hold? If you remove the mechanical joint, will the epoxy still hold it? If you remove one or the other and it will move, the knife blade will move or come out, then you might want to think about how you got your stuff done, and maybe, look at how the maker or the factory or whatever it is has done that particular knife and decide what's right for you. Anyway, let's get on with some things here. You know what? Let's just jump in. So one of the reasons why we do this is, for these knives, we've got a compass in the butt cap. Personally, I don't think that's the absolute best place for it, but a lot of people like it, and I've tried every other configuration possible. That's what people keep coming back to. We're going to blow into 10 minutes here. But with this, by doing that and making these knives strong enough, look what all we can fit in here. We got a Swiss Army knife classic, all right, Victorinox classic. Let's put in a couple of strike anywhere matches. Let's put in a 1/4 inch thick ferrule rod. Let's put in a glow stick. Let's put in a couple Tender Quick tabs, okay? And believe it or not, there's still more room in there. That's just to give you an idea of what you can have, okay? So screw that down. That means there's still room there. You can stuff another couple of quick tender tabs to lock it all down or whatever else. Now, let's go ahead. And so this isn't all just, there we go. This isn't all just talk. We got, and that was the other thing I was going to mention. In all of these tests that I've done, there was no epoxy involved. That is just the mechanical joint of the knife demonstrating the soundness of the engineering and the design and the execution and stuff. It doesn't need epoxy. The epoxy is just there for kicks, really. I don't have to put it on there, but I believe in going to the nth level whenever possible. All right, so I'm going to see if I can do this without hurting myself. Let's just go ahead and see if we can demonstrate where this is going to flex in real world use. I don't think I had this cranked down last time. Okay. This may break, it may not, I have no idea. This knife has been beat up a little bit, but what I want you to do is look and see right there. You see if the handle is going to, that's where you're going to have all the stress is focused. The tang can go 26 feet out the end of the handle. A longer tang doesn't change the physics. Science dictates what's going to happen. Okay, so that's only a 3/16 thick knife, guys. Ironically, that's the same thing in a hollow handle knife. If the tang goes all the way out to here, it doesn't matter because the stress is going to be right at that joint where it flexes. Okay, that's where all of your stress is going to be located in a bend test. In beating tests and other things, who knows? But really, if you go by that way, why not make the tang 4 inches long and give yourself a 1/2 inch of space? Or why not make the tang go 3 feet past the handle if it makes it stronger? It doesn't. Physics is what's going to make this work. Okay, so there we go. This fits perfectly into this handle here, and I should be able to flex this. Let me move my coffee here. All right. Okay, so still, and the reason this is important is you're going to see in a minute. Okay. We did get a bend in that, as you can see. Okay. There's definitely a bend. Now, remember that visual from right there, and ask yourself, what would you rather bend? Do you see where this is going, guys? It's physics. Would you rather bend that little stub sticking up or this thing? Both of the knives will still be plenty strong, probably, if everything else is done right. But that extra length is not going to do anything to make it stronger because the force is all focused right there. Okay? See how easy that is? Look at that. I didn't have to try. And look at that. We can keep going. I'm not even going to get into it. There, that's one-handed. Okay? It's science, bro. I don't know what more we want out of these knives. We shouldn't even be worrying about the tangs and all that stuff. That's not the real issue. Focus on the edge geometry, on the steel, on the construction methods and everything else. Okay. That still won't be good enough for some people. I don't really care. Like I said, I've been doing this I'm coming up on 15 years. I got over 1,000 knives out there, guys, on multiple different continents and all over the U.S. What usually happens, just out of curiosity, yeah, no bend. There's not even epoxy in there. You see what I'm saying? What usually happens, I don't even talk about the knife, the hollow handle construction stuff anymore on the forums. I used to, but what almost always happens is somebody comes along, they just started making knives, they've got like 10 or 15, 20 knives under their belt, and they want to tell you how to do it and how to improve it and make it so much better. Guys, I've been doing this almost 15 years. I don't even know what I don't know yet. So that being said, I've tried at least 10, 12, maybe more different ways to make these hollow handle knives over the years. The way I do it now is, in my opinion, by far the most expedient, the most efficient, and it gets the job done. You can always make anything stronger. Wouldn't you feel safer if you were in the car? What do they call the car that the President of the United States has? The Beast, I think. It's got bulletproof doors, bulletproof glass, and all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't you be safer in that car? Of course you would. Than in your regular car? Of course you would. But do you really need to go to all that length and spend all that extra time, money, and everything else to be safe in your car? You can make almost anything close to indestructible, but at what cost? These are designed to be used as knives. Use them as knives. You're going to be just fine. Okay, where'd the other email go? Is it this one? Yes. Okay, hi. I found you on Blade Forums and had a few questions about your knives. First, why do you only use stainless steel, in parentheses, as far as I can tell? Let's do that one first. Firstly, I do use some carbon steel for certain knives, but not for the hollow handle knives anymore, unless I've just got a spare piece laying around or something like that. I primarily use CPM 154. Guys, there's no real need to use carbon steels anymore for most applications, for a regular using knife, unless you have some specialized application. These quality stainless steels that we have now, I run them in like 60 for hardness, and I have not been able to break them. I'm sure I could well, that's not entirely true. I have broken one or two that I really set out to break. But in actual sane testing, none of them have broken, and they've demonstrated fantastic edge retention. The quality stainless with good heat treat and good edge geometry will outclass almost any carbon steel out there in a comparable setting. It's just the way it is. The reason carbon steels got so popular for a while was because it's easy for a lot of guys to heat treat them at home, because they have just a forge or some type of kiln or whatever else, and they don't want to do the dry ice or the nitrogen for the temper and everything else, the sub-zero quench or temper. The stainless steels are just better, and they don't rust. Now, if you like carbon steel, that's fine. Like I said, get whatever you want. I don't care. But people that send me emails like this guy right here, if you want to know why, that's why. Okay. Second, do you ever just do a blasted finish? I'm a big fan of 5160, which from what I can see on blade forums, you used to use a lot. That is true. I used 5160 for several years. Is it possible to get that with a blasted finish? Please let me know how to proceed with an order, etc. Blah, blah, blah. We won't use his name. He didn't give us permission. No. There we go. So a blasted finish on carbon steel is a poor idea. Okay, you don't have to even be a metallurgist. Do a quick image search or a quick internet search on blasted finishes on carbon steels. Now, bead blasted is a little bit better than like a full media blast, but I did just before this video, because I know people love visuals. This is an 01 or 1095 blade. I can't remember which. Now, it had been painted because I was using it for some shop abuse in the past. Now, look, all I did was I freshly blasted this steel, okay? And then I took a water bottle right there, and I just spritzed one shot on there. I don't know if it's going to show up or not. We'll try and... Do you see all that rust? I spritzed it one time and then put it aside. Now, if you oil the steel, of course, you can prevent some of that rust, but why would you want to be out there in the woods, or the wilderness, with a blasted finish and relying on oil to prevent it from corroding? If that's what you want, by all means, go ahead. I'm just telling you, if you talk to knife makers that have been doing this a while, I know several, at least, nobody that I've ever heard of puts a blasted finish on carbon steel because it will rust readily. Now, again, bead blasted is a little bit different than like media blasted. Regardless, I stopped using 5160 because so many people wanted blasted finishes. Even on stainless, I get a little bit of a corrosion sometimes in the blasted finish area, which is why I started using gun coat to cover those areas up. So, do whatever you want and get whatever you want, and enjoy it. That's great. I'm just letting you know, those are the facts. Again, these are metallurgical facts. All right. Now, if that's not what you want to do, man, knock yourself out. I got no problem with, anybody doing whatever they want. But all those guys that I know that use blasted finishes, they all, and we're talking a lot of knife makers, they all use stainless steel. I'm unaware of anybody now. If you're going to do like a chemical coating or something, that may be different. But unless you keep it packed in oil, it's just not a good idea. Is it going to ruin the knife? Probably not. You can re-blast it. Not that big of a deal. I'm not saying this is the only way to make them. But in my experience, like I said, over almost 15 years, and I got over 1,000 knives out there all over the world. You pick up a few things along the way, and there are certain reasons why you keep coming back to certain things. Do what you want. Let me know if you have any questions. Did I cover everything? We did the rust. We did the prying. We did the storage capacity. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, I think that's it. All right, folks. Thanks for your attention and your support. Appreciate it. Have a good one, and stay safe out there.